It was the dead of night when my phone jolted me awake. The caller ID flashed. Dad, his voice, usually a pillar of strength, was trembling, a raw tremor I'd never heard before. One urgent command sliced through the silence. Zara, don't go home. Stay exactly where you are. I pressed him for answers, but he offered none, only a desperate plea to trust him. 10 minutes later, my quiet street, nestled in the serene town of Willow Creek, was ablaze with flashing blue and red lights. Sirens screamed, cutting through the stillness, painting chaotic patterns against the walls of what I once called my sanctuary. In that moment, a chilling realization washed over me. My father had just pulled me back from the brink of a nightmare I never saw coming. Sound of sirens and flashing lights subtly fades in and out before we delve deeper into this harrowing night. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more true stories of resilience and chilling revenge here on Revengera. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. My name is Zara Hayes, and I'm 28 years old, a dedicated nurse at St. Jude's Community Hospital. That fateful night, I was finally clocking out after a grueling 12-hour shift. My feet ached, my mind was a blur of patient charts and medical jargon, and all I craved was the soft embrace of my bed. I lived alone in a quaint, seemingly idyllic neighborhood, the kind of place where folks left their doors unlocked, believing nothing truly bad could ever happen. Or so I thought. My father, Arthur, is a retired fire chief, a man whose presence has always been as steady and unwavering as the old oak tree in our backyard. He's the quintessential protective dad, the kind who calls just to check in, even when I assure him I'm perfectly capable. My mother, Eleanor, is the gentle counterpoint, a woman whose heart wears its emotions on its sleeve, always worrying a little too much. And then there's my younger brother, Leo, the family jester, whose quick wit always lightens the heaviest moods. But my father, Arthur, is different. When he speaks, his words carry an unspoken weight, a conviction that demands attention. He'd always drilled one rule into me: if I ever tell you to trust me, don't question it, just do it. As I steered my beat-up sedan towards home that night, a strange quiet descended upon the neighborhood. The streetlights seemed to flicker with an unnatural hesitation, and an oppressive silence hung heavy in the air, muffling the usual chirping of crickets. I dismissed it as late-night weariness, a trick of the mind, until the call. My dad's voice, ragged with a primal fear, ordered me to stay away from my own home. In that dizzying instant, I couldn't fathom why, but I was about to discover the terrifying truth of his words. I pulled into a dimly lit gas station a few blocks from my street, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. My father's words echoed in my ears, a chilling mantra: don't go home, stay where you are. Please trust me. This was Arthur, the man who had charged into infernos without a second thought, the hero who never flinched in the face of danger. Yet, his voice had cracked with a raw panic that spoke volumes. I peered through the darkness towards my house, a beacon of normalcy just a few streets away. A part of me longed to believe it was a false alarm, a father's overprotective nature, flaring up, but another, deeper part, knew he wouldn't call me like this unless something truly sinister was at play. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, a silent war raging within me. Why would he say that? Was there a fire? Had someone been hurt? I instinctively reached for my mother's contact, then hesitated. What if she knew nothing? Or worse, what if she confirmed my deepest fears? My dad's calls kept coming, each one brief, urgent, devoid of explanation. He only repeated the same chilling instruction: stay where you are, Zara. Please don't move until I say it's safe. I felt caught between two terrifying choices. One side of me screamed to spin the car around, to race home and prove everything was fine. I hated feeling so utterly helpless. The other side, the rational part, remembered countless instances where my father's instincts had been eerily accurate. He'd once yanked me from a lakeside picnic seconds before a lightning bolt struck the water. He'd prevented our family from getting into a car that he just had a bad feeling about, only for us to discover later that the brakes were dangerously failing. He possessed an uncanny ability to sense danger before it materialized. Still, this felt different. This was my home, my sanctuary. If something was happening inside, I needed to know. I switched off the engine, plunging the car into an even deeper silence, save for the hum of the gas station sign. My reflection in the windshield showed a pale, trembling stranger. I'd seen fear in the eyes of countless patients in the air, But nothing had prepared me for this paralyzing dread for my own life. My phone buzzed again, jolting me. "Dad," I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper, "you're scaring me. Please, just tell me what's going on." There was a tense pause, then his voice, quiet but firm, cut through the night. "Zara, listen to me. If you go into that house, I don't know if I'll see you again. Stay there. The police are on their way." My stomach plummeted. My house, my safe place. I gazed back at my street, so deceptively calm, so ordinary. Yet, the gravity of his words painted a terrifying image, a shadow, lurking, waiting behind my own front door. The minutes dragged on, each second an eternity. Every creak, every distant bark of a dog, every passing headlight sent a jolt of pure terror through me. I considered walking closer, just to get a glimpse, but my dad's voice, cracking with fear, echoed in my mind, holding me back. Then, a faint, mournful wail pierced the night. It started as a distant hum, growing steadily louder, until the piercing shriek of sirens filled the air. I sat frozen, watching as police cars, their lights a chaotic dance of red and blue, raced past the gas station and turned directly onto my street. The flashing colors bounced off houses, transforming my quiet neighborhood into a scene of pure pandemonium. My heart hammered, threatening to burst from my chest. I fumbled for my phone. "Dad, the police are here. What's happening? Please, I can't take this." His voice, though still heavy, was steadier now. "Zara, I'll explain soon. Right now, I just need you safe. That's all that matters. Trust me." Tears welled in my eyes. Trust him. I always had. But what unspeakable horror could be unfolding that I wasn't even allowed within the sanctity of my own home? I watched in a daze as more police vehicles arrived. Officers, some with flashlights, others with weapons drawn, spilled out, moving with a disciplined precision. Their boots thudded against the pavement. Their radios crackled with urgent, clipped voices. My neighborhood, the one I had always believed was impervious to danger, now resembled a sprawling crime scene. Every instinct screamed at me to run to them, to demand answers, to reclaim some control over the terrifying unfolding events. But I couldn't. My hands trembled violently on the steering wheel, rendering me small and utterly powerless. The chilling thought that something inside that house could have harmed me sent a violent shiver down my spine. My dad had known. Somehow, he had known before I even reached my driveway. As I sat there, a profound truth settled deep within me. My life, my very existence, hung by the fragile thread of my father's warning. If I had ignored him, if I had gone home as planned, I might not have been sitting here at all. And yet, the terrifying question remained: what unspeakable evil lurked behind those walls, and why were the police here? This night was only just beginning, and my entire world was about to shatter. From my vantage point at the gas station, my street pulsed with a mesmerizing, terrifying ballet of red and blue lights. Neighbors, drawn by the commotion, shuffled out in their pajamas, their hushed whispers and pointing fingers adding to the surreal atmosphere. I sat in my car, a prisoner of fear, clutching my phone, my breath caught in my throat as I tried to process the scene unfolding before me. My stomach dropped like a stone when 2 officers finally dragged a man out of my front door. There was truly someone inside, hiding, waiting. Even from a distance, I could discern his wild, darting eyes, his tattered clothes, his arms twisted behind him in handcuffs. This wasn't just a petty burglar seeking valuables. There was something profoundly unsettling, something deliberate in his movements, in his very essence. A wave of icy dread washed over me as I realized how close I had been to walking right into his trap. "Dad," I whispered into the phone, my voice trembling, "I see them. They have someone. Who is he? What was he doing in my house?" My father's voice, though steady, was laced with an undeniable pain. "Zara, stay calm. The police will explain soon, but I need you to know this. You did the right thing by listening. If you had walked in tonight, he would have been waiting for you." Waiting for me? The words echoed in my head, sharp and heavy, each syllable a hammer blow to my fragile sense of security. This wasn't random. This wasn't some unfortunate coincidence. This was personal. A few minutes later, an officer detached himself from the swarm of activity and walked purposefully towards my car. His face, etched with professional gravity, softened slightly when he saw me, a shaking, pale figure in the driver's seat. He leaned down, his voice low and reassuring. "Miss Hayes, you're safe now. We've cleared the house. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Who was he? What was he doing in my home? The officer hesitated, choosing his words carefully. We found evidence that he wasn't there to rob you. He had been following you for weeks. Inside, we found printed photos of you, some from social media, others taken without your knowledge. He had them laid out on your coffee table, and he had a knife hidden under your couch cushions. If you had walked in tonight, we don't think you would have walked back out. My chest tightened, constricting my breath as his words sank in. My legs felt numb, my vision blurred by a fresh wave of tears. I shook my head, a desperate denial rising in my throat, yet deep down, I knew it was horrifyingly real. I had felt it before, those subtle shivers down my spine as I walked from my car, the inexplicable feeling of being watched. I had dismissed them, rationalized them away as mere paranoia. But it wasn't nothing. He had been watching me meticulously, planning, waiting for the perfect, terrifying moment. The officer's voice gently pulled me back from the abyss of my thoughts. It was your father's quick thinking that saved you. A neighbor saw the man forcing your back door and called your dad. First, knowing he'd get to you faster than anyone. If you had arrived even 5 minutes earlier, we might be telling a very different story right now. I broke down, the full, crushing weight of it all collapsing on me. My father's voice, soft but unwavering, came through the phone again. Zara, I told you to trust me. You did. And you're alive because of it. That's all that matters. I could barely speak, choked by a torrent of emotions, exposed, violated, utterly terrified. My safe, cozy home had been desecrated, transformed into an unspeakable stage for someone else's sick intentions. The thought made me physically ill, yet, at the same time, an overwhelming wave of gratitude washed over me. If my dad hadn't called at that exact moment, if I had ignored his warning even for a second, I wouldn't be here. As the police led the man away, I caught one last glimpse. He turned his head, just enough for his eyes to lock onto mine. They were cold, empty, and utterly devoid of remorse, fixed on me with a chilling intensity. A shiver of profound dread ran through my body. This wasn't over. Not in my mind. Not in my heart. That image would forever be etched into my memory. One of the officers asked if I wanted to go inside, to see the evidence. I couldn't. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. Not tonight. I can't. My home no longer felt like mine. It felt like a trap I had narrowly escaped, a place where danger had patiently waited in the shadows. I stayed at the gas station until my dad's old pickup truck pulled up. When he stepped out and pulled me into his arms, I finally let go, releasing the torrent of fear I had held captive within me. He held me tight, his voice a soothing balm against my ear. You're safe, darling. That's all that matters. You're safe. That night, everything changed. My father's urgent call, my choice to trust him implicitly, and the chaotic arrival of those flashing lights had drawn an indelible line in the sand of my life. On one side was the world I thought I lived in, safe, predictable, ordinary. On the other side was the stark, terrifying truth: danger can lurk in the most familiar places. And sometimes, the only thing standing between life and death is the unwavering voice of someone who loves you enough to be believed. The next morning, I woke in the familiar comfort of my parents' guest room. Sleep had been fleeting, my body tense, my mind replaying every horrifying detail. The first sight that greeted me was my mother, Eleanor, sitting by the bed, her face pale, her eyes swollen from silent tears. She reached for my hand, her voice a fragile whisper. You scared us so badly, Zara. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't listened to your father. Her words were a stark reminder. This wasn't just my nightmare. It was theirs too. My dad, Arthur, had been awake all night, pacing, checking his phone, waiting for police updates. When he finally walked into the room, he said nothing. He simply pulled me into a hug, holding me tighter than he ever had before. For a long moment, we simply clung to each other, tears silently mingling, no words necessary. Later, over a somber breakfast, the police called with more chilling details. The man they arrested, a known stalker, had a history of following women, breaking into their homes, and waiting. He wasn't interested in money or jewelry. He was there for me. He had meticulously studied my routines, when I worked late, when I arrived home, even the exact time I usually turned off my lights. The photos laid out on my coffee table weren't just snapshots. They were a chilling map of his twisted obsession, pieces of a meticulously crafted plan. The detective's voice, grim and resolute, confirmed my worst fears. If your father hadn't acted so quickly, things could have gone very differently. Hearing it articulated sent another cold shiver down my spine. I couldn't shake the image of how close I had come. Just minutes. If my shift had ended earlier, if a traffic light had been green instead of red, I might have walked straight into him. That horrifying thought shadowed my every waking moment. For the next few days, I couldn't bring myself to return to my house. My dad, bless his heart, went with the police to collect my essentials, clothes, documents, the small comforts of home. He told me not to look at the photos they found, and I obeyed. I didn't want those grotesque images burned into my memory. For me, it was enough to know that danger had been closer than I ever dared imagine. Living through something like that changes you fundamentally. I began to truly understand the fragile illusion of safety. We all believe our homes are our impenetrable sanctuaries, but the truth is, nothing is guaranteed. And yet, amidst that fear, I discovered something even more powerful: trust. My father's voice, the sheer urgency in his words, was the invisible thread that kept me alive. If I had doubted him, even for a split second, I wouldn't be here. In the days that followed, friends and neighbors reached out. Some sent flowers, others brought comfort food, a silent outpouring of support. Everyone kept saying how lucky I was, but it didn't feel like luck. It felt like an act of profound love. The kind of love that compels a father to pick up the phone at midnight and do whatever it takes to protect his daughter. I remember sitting on the porch with my dad a few nights later. The air was cool, the sky scattered with a million stars. I finally mustered the courage to ask the question that had gnawed at me since that night. Dad, how did you know? How did you know I couldn't go home? He looked at me, his face serious, but gentle. Because I know you, Zara, and because I trust my gut. Your neighbor called me instead of you because she knew I'd keep you calm. When I heard the sheer terror in her voice, I didn't have time for explanations. I just had to keep you away until help arrived. I sat there quietly, letting his words wash over me. I realized then that his call wasn't just instinct. It was love, pure and unadulterated, a force powerful enough to defy the most sinister threats. Now, weeks later, I'm slowly, painstakingly, rebuilding my life. I've moved into a new place, one with stronger locks, strategically placed security, cameras, and a state-of-the-art alarm system. It's not just about walls and doors anymore. It's about peace of mind. But no matter how safe I make my new home, I know that night will forever be a part of me. Every time my phone rings late at night, I pause, my heart giving a little flutter. Every time I walk into my house, I instinctively check twice. And every time I consider brushing off a gut feeling or a loved one's warning, I remember that promise I made at the gas station, to trust my dad, no matter what. The lesson I carry with me is simple yet profoundly powerful. Sometimes, the people who love you see the danger before you do. Sometimes you have to let go of your need for immediate answers and simply listen. That unwavering trust can mean the difference between life and death. So, here I am, sharing this story with you, not just because it happened to me, but because I want you to carry this truth with you too. Pay attention to the people who love you. Don't brush off their warnings, because one day, their words, their instincts, their love, might just save your life, just as my dad's did for me. If you found this story powerful and chilling, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Revenge Era for more real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.